We, after it passed, not much happened, but after it passed Bonaire, it slowed down. After it passed Aruba, actually, and then it wobbled a little bit and it started changing direction. And when it did that, it caused waves to come hit our shoreline, waves from the northwest. So we knew there was a problem when we saw the waves hitting the shore. A lot of people needed help. So we organized a task force with our own staff, but also a lot of volunteers. We designed a survey where we could go determine which reefs were hit the hardest, and if they were hit, what sort of damage was occurred after the waves hit. So we developed a protocol using underwater equipment. So we bring down a transect tape and we measure off a certain distance at different depths. And we also bring a tool we call, a T-bar. So the divers would go under and they go to different depths. The way we designed it is a diver would go to 30 meters with a buddy and look around. If there was no damage, they'd immediately go up to 20 meters, and then they would do a survey of 30 meters, looking on 1 meter on each side of the line, trying to determine if there's corals damaged. So are they broken? Are they toppled? Also looking at sponges to see if they fell over and were damaged in any way. Then they would go up to 20 to 10 meters, and then also shallow, very shallow, and do the same transect. So in a systematic scientific way, we were able to determine percent damage at different depths.
Can you tell me a little bit about the results?
The results, okay, well, as you probably know, the waves from Hurricane Matthew were not as large or as long-lasting as, say, Lenny in '99 or Ivan in 2004 or Omar in 2008. So we were hoping it wouldn't be as bad underwater, and in fact, that's what we found. So we found that certain sites, if you look at the map here, most of the waves were coming from the northwest. Because if you remember, the storm kind of stalled and then wobbled and started going up towards the northern Caribbean. So those waves really hit the northern part of the island. So the park, we found damage, but mostly just in the shallows. Same with parts of Klein Bonaire, this side of Klein Bonaire, and Belnam. So those of you that live in Belnam, you probably know this quite well. It was hit pretty hard. And a few sites here we saw also damage, but mostly just in the shallows. In fact, it was mostly fire coral and some elkhorn and staghorn corals that were showing toppling and broken pieces. Most of the mound corals were still in place and weren't damaged. So if you looked at 10 meters or deeper, there was almost no damage of corals. Now, there were some sponges damaged at all depths at some sites. So we got about 10 to 12% sponge damage at the sites we looked at. Corals, only in the shallows. Some sites, there's about 25% of the corals we looked at were damaged. But most of the sites were fine. So it was mainly where the direction of the wave was hitting. These sites here, here, and here, we saw the shallow damage. But as opposed to Lenny and Omar and Ivan, where you had damaged very deep. In fact, some like Midushi and parts of New Cove and the park, the damage went down to like 15 meters. So we were pretty pleased with the results, but it's still no good. I mean, you still get a lot of the sites that were recovering from some of those storms. They had a lot of fire coral growing, and it just was smashed to bits. So some of the recovery process was stalled or set back. So we still have to do everything we can to ensure the health of our reefs, which we're already doing. Stinapa does a lot, and the island of Bonaire does a lot. So we have to keep up our efforts, especially in a day where climate change and all sorts of pollutants are going into the waters. And right now we have a heating event. The climate's pretty hot in Bonaire right now. The water temperature is pretty high. So these things are all affecting coral reefs all over the world. And so we need to just keep doing our best to protect what we have.
If people are interested in learning more about these results, you're going to have a lecture. Can you tell me more about this lecture?
Yes, okay, so our marine park manager and our assistant biologist are giving a presentation at CIEE on Tuesday, the 22nd, so next week, November 22nd, from 7 to 8. And so if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about the details of what we found, then please join us. It ought to be very informative, and you can ask questions there as well.